Good morning and welcome to On the Spot News right here on Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Yvonne Muchaka. Let's take a look at the news making the headlines. No joy for civil servants. Mpofu loses farm grip appeal. Manufacturers dump Zim dollar. Cover up feared in slain Triple C activist's case. Zim start to release census results. Exiled. Exiled Jonathan Moyo digs in, explains recent Chamisa and Triple C onslaught. Net closes in on unproductive farmers, and Tinold High qualifies for the global robotics competition. And now for the news in detail. Salary talks between government and its employees at a joint negotiating council meeting yesterday ended in a deadlock. Government refused to cave in to demands by its employees' representative, the Zimbabwe Confederation of Public Sector Trade Unions, for United States dollar salaries. Instead, government stuck to its earlier offer of a 100% salary increment in local currency, which civil servants rejected last month. Public sector workers' representatives will today meet to plan their way forward. Last week, the workers gave government a 2-week ultimatum to address their salary grievances or face a strike likely to paralyze public services. ZANU-PF Secretary for Administration Obed Mpofu yesterday lost his Supreme Court bid to take over Esidakeni farm in Nyamandlovu, which he allegedly grabbed from rights activist Siposami Malunga. This was after Malunga had won a High Court order to stop Mpofu from evicting him. Mpofu then appealed to the Supreme Court to overturn the order, but lost the case yesterday. Malunga, who is the son of the late nationalist Sidney Malunga, co-owns Keshoma Farm, popularly known as Esikadeni in Nyamandlovu, with his business associates Charles Moyo and Zephania Dlamini. The court ordered Mpofu to vacate the farm and desist from disrupting operations. Producers of basic commodities are now charging selected products such as sugar, milk, and cooking oil in United States dollars, forcing retailers and wholesalers to follow suit and pass on the United States dollar pricing regime onto consumers. This has sparked fears that the local currency may soon be rendered useless as retailers prefer the United States dollar at a time some basic commodities are disappearing from shop shelves. Key witnesses into the murder of Kwekwe Citizens Coalition for Change Triple C activist Mboneni Ncube by suspected ZANU-PF activists are allegedly being intimidated to stop them from testifying in the case. At the same time, police officers who were behind the arrest of the ZANU-PF activists linked to Ncube's murder have been transferred from the province in a development that the Triple C said raised eyebrows. Police yesterday said there was nothing unusual about the transfers. Ncube was fatally stabbed in Kwekwe at a rally in Bizo in February ahead of the March 26 by-elections, leading to the arrest of 16 ZANU-PF youth said to be backed by former Minister of State Security Owen Ncube. 11 of the suspects were released without charge when they appeared before Kwekwe Magistrate Florence Nago. Lawayo High Court Judge Justice Martin Makonese granted the other suspects bail. A ZANU-PF member, Kennedy Simbi, who was named as the ringleader and is said to have been the one who stabbed Ncube, according to police, is still at large. There has been little movement in the case as key witnesses are allegedly no longer keen to take the witness stand, fearing for their lives and that of their families following threats from suspected ZANU-PF members linked to Ncube's murder. Ncube's sister Judith has also been a victim of the threats. She was once abducted by suspected ZANU-PF members who threatened to take her life unless she drops the case. Her named abductors were never arrested. Preliminary results of the 2022 population and housing census will be out on 1 August, the Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency has said. Previously, census results were released 2 years after enumerators had concluded the process, but now it has been simplified and results will be released sooner. The rest of the results will, however, be released in a series of 8 reports until November. The census took place from 21 to 30 April, and this also saw an extended 5-day mop up exercise to ensure that those who were left out by the initial exercise were counted. The census took into account the number of people who were in the country on the night of 20 April 2022, which was regarded as the census night. Zimstat Manager Public Relations and Communications, Ms. Mercy Chidemo, said the results will be released in a phased manner owing to the various components that were included in this edition of the census that were not included in previous ones. About 80% of A2 farmers who were resettled during the land reform program met the February 15 deadline to submit their production returns, while 60% of all A1 farmers beat the cutoff date. Last year, the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development invoked the Agricultural Marketing Authority Act, which compels farmers to submit mandatory production returns to government annually. Authorities are now set to deploy agricultural, technical, and extension services officers to undertake separate audits to authenticate farmers' submissions. Auditing of farm records is expected to expose multiple farm owners, including abandoned, rundown, and underutilized farms that will be appropriated for redistribution to some of the 200,000 people on the waiting list. Nearly 380,000 A1 and A2 farmers, all beneficiaries of the land reform program, are affected by this exercise. Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development Permanent Secretary Dr. John Basera said response to the call for submission of production records has been incredible. Meanwhile, government is mulling a new law to mitigate rampant land degradation and dam siltation across the country. David Marapira, the Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development Deputy Minister, has said. President Emerson Mnangagwa's government has been accused of clamping down on critics and closing the democratic space ahead of the 2023 elections, where he is facing a stiff challenge from Citizens Coalition of Change leader Nelson Chamisa. Mnangagwa has in recent weeks vowed that sellouts would not be allowed to rule Zimbabwe. The ruling ZANU-PF often accuses its critics of being sellouts and regime change agents sponsored by the West. Crisis in Zimbabwe Coalition, a grouping of human rights organizations in the country, raised alarm over the arrest and urged Mnangagwa to stop targeting critics. In other news, a Harare school, Tinward High, has qualified for the Global Robotics Competition after beating 15 countries at the Pan-African competition held in Dakar, Senegal. The Harare school came fourth to qualify for the global stage set for Switzerland in October. We say congratulations to Tinward High. The Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce says business is being sidelined by policymakers who are pursuing pro-poor policies for political expedience ahead of the 2023 polls. ZNCC's immediate past president Tinashe Manzungu said election headwinds are filtering into business activities as the country prepares for the 2023 general elections, and business concerns are being sidelined as the policymakers pursue pro-poor policies to gain election mileage. This was captured in the organization's 2020-2022 annual report presented at the ZNCC's recent annual conference. In regional and international news, Sri Lanka's President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled his official residence on Saturday shortly before protesters, angered by an unprecedented economic crisis, overran the compound and stormed his nearby office. Hundreds of thousands of people massed on the streets around the leader's home, according to police estimates, to demand the step down over the government's mismanagement of the unprecedented downturn. After storming the gates of the presidential palace, hundreds of people could be seen in live broadcasts on social media walking through its rooms, with some among the boisterous crowd jumping into the compound's pool. Some were seen laughing and lounging in the stately bedrooms of the residents, with one putting out what he claimed was a pair of the president's underwear. Not long earlier, troops guarding the residence fired in the air to hold the crowd back until Rajapaksa was safely removed. 3 people were hospitalized after being shot, along with 36 others who suffered breathing difficulties following intense tear gas barrages near the president's house. A spokeswoman for the main hospital in Colombo said security forces attempted to disperse the huge crowds that had mobbed Colombo's administrative district. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who would assume the presidency in the event of Rajapaksa's resignation, called an urgent cabinet meeting to discuss a swift resolution to the political crisis. Meanwhile, the unrest comes at the tail end of Australia's ongoing cricket tour of Sri Lanka, with Pakistan's squad also on the island for the upcoming series. Cricket officials said there were no plans to change their schedules, adding that the sport was unaffected by the political turmoil. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we give you a sport report.
A very good morning to you, Zimbabwe. Welcome to the sports segment here on Zim Daily. My name is Coach Archie, your host. Zimbabwe. Yesterday, Zimbabwe started its first World T20 qualifier match in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, where they played against Singapore and won by 111 runs. The fun and matches continue today with Zimbabwe facing Jersey at 9:30. Be sure to join us for regular updates as we continue to bring you live updates of some of the sporting aspects happening around the world and here in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Coach Archie, for that sport update right here on Zimbabwe Daily. And to end the news bulletin, here are the headlines once again. No joy for civil servants. Mpofu loses farm grab appeal. Manufacturers dump Zim dollar. Cover-up feared in slain Triple C activists case. Zim start to release census results. Net closes in on unproductive farmers. And Tinwood High School qualifies for the Global Robotics Competition. Thank you so much for tuning in to Zimbabwe Daily. Join us again tomorrow morning as we bring you on the sport news right here on your platform. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of day.